Hey, Internet, how's it going out there? This is Reese coming at you from the Mattriarchy. I am very certain that we have no guests. I mean, nobody watching. I don't even know, though, because I've got that screen up. I'm so far behind the eight ball today, you guys wouldn't even believe. And then I went down to turn my computer on, and it spent 20 minutes waking up enough where it would let me run enough windows to actually see anything. So that was great. Made me very happy. Anyhow, I've got with me, of course, Matt McGibson coming at us from the great state of Maryland.
Hey, everybody. How are you?
Oh, man. And we have a special guest panelist today, Carl of Carl Tunes.
Mm-hmm. How you doing?
And we don't. This is a ridiculous derivation from our regular pattern. I had gotten to the point where I was very comfortable. Oh, hey, Pope Fires. Hey,
Yeah,
Pope Fires.
I did notice her. I was very happy about that. She says, "Why am I not blue?"
Well, here's the thing. Here's the ticket with that. It's gonna make me. I'm gonna risk the stupid tag. I don't know how to do that. You see, I'm 41 years old, right? And YouTube is only 9 years old. And I haven't figured out all of its secrets yet. Because it wasn't really something I cared to know anything about. So you're not a wrench because I don't know how to do that.
Funny story is one time Critias of Scorn Comics, a really nice guy. I haven't seen him as much on Twitter, but I think that's just because he's like got something going on.
I think he's
she's gonna go take a shower but what he did was he wanted us to have a wrench Hunger Games. He was gonna give us all wrenches, and his idea was that we were gonna use our wrenches to take each other out. We were gonna, and then whoever was left not banned from the chat was the one true wrench to rule them all.
That's hilarious.
But the sad thing is it doesn't work. Like mods can't ban other mods. But yeah, what have you guys been up to? Because it's been, I know, Carl, you are already done with school, but that's been on top of having a bit of a sickness this for the past couple days. School has been pretty hectic.
How hectic?
Now, though, Matt, I think you have a kid graduating, right? So this is going to be like you doing the finals with them. Oh, did he die? All right, everybody, go. Everybody say F in the chat. He's not with us anymore. Reese is gone.
Matt, what's wrong? Matt.
Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, in the meantime, you know, he was a nice guy. We hardly knew him. Yeah, he might just be having technical issues. Either way, yeah, very happy to see Scott showing up. He says, like an anime antagonist or anti-hero. Uh-oh. Matt just disappeared.
Shoot.
Does that mean, can we still broadcast to his YouTube channel?
Yeah.
He joined and he's gone. So who's on tonight's docket? Actually, it's kind of the both of us tonight. It's going to be a little different, where instead of featuring somebody else, me and Reese are going to be talking about projects that we're working on.
Okay. Now, what the hell just happened?
Oh, well, it seems that you made like Jesus, but skipped the 3 days of waiting.
I just had 5 minutes of dead air on my end.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We were making jokes that you died, and we tried to do like a little eulogy. So then, yeah, congrats. You beat the world record for respawning.
Oh my goodness sakes. I tell you, apparently I rolled a saving throw or something. It's crazy. So yeah, so I guess you were answering Scott's question from the chat. Is that what was
Yeah,
understanding just now.
that was kind of going to be the docket for tonight. That was going to be us. We have our own own projects that we're working on. Yours is an Indiegogo, mine is a webcomic, and we're very happy to talk about them. I'm just waiting to see if we can. I'm gonna put the link to the stream in the Discord server.
And I haven't even gotten it up on Twitter like normal yet or anything.
Yeah, we'll just let's get everybody, ask them how they're doing.
Don't worry, I'll
One
put this
here.
on my Twitters very quickly.
Yeah, pop on the Twitters.
So, let's see here. Carl, how have you been doing?
I've been doing great.
Excellent, excellent.
That's usually a sign that something is going on. That's when you should not trust Carl.
Well, that's just silly. Carl seems to be a very trustworthy guy.
True.
That's what the last guy said.
So, but oh my goodness, yeah, like I said, it's been an uncomfortable and unsettled day. I was very busy at work, and then on top of that, I got really stupid this evening, and it's just been very frustrating. Frankly, I'm exhausted, but that's okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of to be expected.
This
is the busy point of the year, right now. Finals are coming up. Everyone's worrying about that. So, we both I'll take some blame for it too. I could have linked some people, but I also, because the other day I revealed that I was finally willing to show some stuff that I was working on. I figured that I'm going to be on here eventually talking about it. So, let's see. I want to just wait a little bit longer before we get in on that though, and see if we get any more else.
We ended up having with all of this too was that we tangentially kind of sort of talked to some people about coming on this week, but I was not on the ball enough to get any confirmations in, and then all of a sudden it's Thursday morning and we don't have anyone for sure, and I'm like, what the heck, man? It's what do we even do? I don't know. So we're making it up as we go. We're doing a little different, very it's a no tie version of the Mattriarchy. Everybody's just sitting down. They don't even have the band up. It's very low key.
It's like a house party stream, but with less interesting conversations, if you catch my drift, Carl. But yeah,
I don't think I do, but I think I'm okay with that.
I think you might have, or if you think about it a little bit, you might get the idea, and then you'll want to unthink about it.
There you go.
Let's see. So, I guess we'll talk about some other things. What have you guys been enjoying the last weeks in terms of geek culture? Has there been any movies, comics, anything?
Well, that's an interesting question. Mind if I go first?
Go ahead.
I've been rewatching the 2004 Tetsujin 28 series.
Now, you're going to have to explain that to people like me who don't know what that is.
I'm going to have to explain that. So, have either of you heard of Gigantor?
Yes.
The original Gigantor was a character created in Japan named Tetsujin. The 2004 Tetsujin 28 series is basically a remake of the original 60s show, but with an overarching plot, and in spite of having the same exact cartoonish art style, is surprisingly far more depressing in tone and subject matter.
Yeah, I just kind of put the pieces together on the whole Donnie Sacco thing, Carl, and found out that that's we took Giant Robo and we renamed it Donnie Sacco.
Well, yeah, and we did the same thing with Tetsujin. We renamed it Gigantor for Western audiences, and that makes sense because the translated name for Tetsujin is Iron Man. You already have a character named Iron Man.
Yeah, that could have gone pretty bad. Reese, scream about HBO's Watchmen trailer for 10 minutes. Now, I intentionally haven't avoided it.
I can't.
I saw a bunch of Rorschach people in a room, and I was like, oh boy.
I can't talk about it at all because I have so little interest. I haven't even watched it.
See, then I have too much interest to let myself watch it.
You know,
I think Watchmen's largely overrated. So I mean,
I know that's your, I do know that's your opinion on Watchmen.
I don't think it's bad. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's as seminal as people believe it to be.
I think
And
it's amazing, as amazing of a book as it is, and all the greatness. This is my opinion. As amazing of a book as it is, I think it's also really bad for the comic industry because of how many people think, oh, if I act like Alan Moore and I write like Alan Moore, then I'm a good writer.
Yeah. Yeah. Alan Moore has written some really good stuff, but I don't know that he's actually a good writer. I think he may be a great idea person with amazing editors.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing, because I don't like getting too explicit on these on the main episodes, but he did a video a while back, and like long ago, legends tell of this really edgy channel called Nurkish.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the videos that Nurkish made, he was talking about a pornographic hobo comic about a man who falls in love with a homeless man and gets into the really heavy details about, you know, their intimate relationship. And, you know, he gets up there and Alan Moore like gives it his blessing and says that this is one of the greatest comics he's ever read in his lifetime.
Okay.
And I'm not like simplifying it, like there's like some really deep art to it, like people say with the fish or the Shape of Water. It straight up is just a centerfold ass magazine with old homeless people.
Yeah.
So it was gross.
Here's the thing about like, first of all, I think Alan Moore's just kind of fallen off the deep end, but if you as a good old fashioned Catholic kid want to just ruin your opinion of Alan Moore, read into, don't necessarily read, but read into his project Lost Girls from about a decade ago.
Yeah, you see with him, I try to stay away from anything because, like, you know, separating the art from the artist. I don't even think that he's human. I think he crawled up from the depths, took the shape of a man in a beard, and then just ran. Like,
empowered.
Alan Moore is such a strange man. Like, I'm not saying this to dehumanize him. I'm saying it because, good God, is he weird?
Well,
like, he
practicing sorcerer who worships a snake god.
He worships and it's like not. It's like a really obscure dead religion snake god. Like, if I'm not mistaken, like he pretty much it'd be like.
If people are legitimately, what I've never understood is if people are legitimately like polytheistic and they just believe in the whole multiple gods thing, is why some people are like, we have to go back to the old gods. You mean the ones that lost?
I'm thinking, why don't you just have, you know, if you have one god that can do everything, why do you need all the others?
Yeah, I've said that often as well. But it's really weird to me when people are just like, no. We need to go back to the old gods, the ones that nobody has seen.
I'm sorry. Every time you use the phrase "old gods," I can only think of the Cthulhu mythos.
Oh yeah. No,
I'm thinking about the new gods from the universe.
That's funny thing to me too, is like there are people that are like legitimately cultic about the idea of the Cthulhu ideas, and they get really kind of crazy about it. And the funny thing to me is that those are very new gods.
Those are from you know, those are almost less than a century old.
Yeah, they're very new gods. Dagon he appropriated from the ancient Mesopotamians, but my understanding on the rest of them are just pretty much made up conceptually.
Yeah,
I mean, it was very creative, and I think it's interesting whenever people also bring up his H.P. Lovecraft's interesting opinions on Jewish and Black people. But it was also kind of commonplace at the time. Carl, have I ever told you about a game called Oh Sir, the Insult Simulator?
Yes, I know of it.
Yeah, okay, it's a wonderful game. But Reese, in this game, you play as posh British people, and you'll get in a scenario like you're on a train and you're arguing with each other, and then you have to you take turns creating insults. So, you know, one turn starts and there's a pool of words, so you pick your mom. The other player takes their turn, so they pick your hamster, and then it goes back to you, and it says, you know, you say something like supports the Nazis, or the other person, and you have to create an insult, and the game grades your insult, and they go like, your brother doesn't own a color telly and poses nude for the Pope. And then it's like and then it grades your insult. And it's a really fun game to play with your friends if you want a good chuckle. But H.P. Lovecraft is just randomly one of the characters. And one of his things, his like every character has a weakness. Like if the characters have like a sensitive topic, so like for the fat guy, it's making fun of his weight. For the one man, it's a sense of style. For one man, it's or for the Russian man, it's Russia. And with the one character, with H.P. Lovecraft, his weakness is reality. So when you say something like it's like you are racist, and it's like ding, and you get the weakness multiplier. That's what my favorite guy in that game is, the one that calls everything racist. You can go like, you are racist, and your pimply ass supports the Nazis.
That's Twitter argument simulator right there.
Well, that's what I started calling people that call everything racist Alberts, because that's the character's name is Albert. And it's a really fun game though. It's pretty cheap too. You just like you can get it on the Switch for like probably I want to say like less than $5. Like it's a fun little game, and it's got some really strange guest appearances. Like you have Serious Sam, the guy from Postal, and Lo Wang from Shadow Warrior. Yeah. See, I was wondering if Danielle says, "Hi guys, happy to be here, but BRB family stuff. I'm fine though." See, now I think all of us could be talking about. Oh, Easy Pick Coven says, "Hi, welcome to Chili's." Bitch, this is
Nice to have you. I'll have the baby back ribs and a coffee.
Do they even or? Oh man, I haven't been to Applebee's in ages. You know what? When I was younger, I used to be convinced that Applebee's and Chili's were just the same restaurant, but with they just traded the fruit or vegetable, whatever, they traded that on the tin and they just swapped it around. It's a new restaurant. Scott says, if there's one book on gods and old gods I enjoy, it's American Gods. I've never actually watched American Gods.
I do love America, but no, I actually have not read American Gods, the novel or the comic book adaptation, nor have I seen the movie, the TV series. So I can't really comment on it. My only experience in it is that Neil Gaiman wrote, he wrote American Gods, but I did. I can't remember if I bought it or if I just rented it. There was a collection of his short stories that was called, I have forgotten it, that I got the audiobook of, and one of them is a sequel to American Gods. And it ties in one of his characters from American Gods into the story of Beowulf, and it's quite a fun little story.
Yeah, I'm seeing Easy Bake Coven is one of those names. You see it, you're like, that's pretty clever. And the next morning, as you're making your coffee, you just stop. You're like, okay, that's pretty good. I don't know why I'm thinking about that. Or I just see him in the chat right now, and like it took a bit for the name to kind of hit me, but it's really clever. Wait, do they still even make Easy Bake Ovens?
I don't know. I think helicopter parents may have made them illegal. I'm not really sure.
Oh yeah, I do remember people being like, it's a serious safety hazard because it was an oven.
Because you can bake with a 60-watt light bulb.
Yeah, it was. I remember my little sister loved those. She bought at least 2 of them across childhood, and you loved using them. I thought they did make it a few years ago. Well, let's see. That could be the case. I mean, did you have any of you actually? Did Easy Bake Coven actually own an Easy Bake Oven, or is he just a poser who just wants in on the cool kids club?
Well, I think the Easy Bake Coven would have far more sinister recipes to come along with it.
Yeah. For some reason, whenever I hear the word coven, I always think of vampires.
Yeah.
Is that the idea? Let's see. Well, I was listening to a lot of Merciful Fate around the time that I picked it. I can't imagine that the food inside is healthy or safe. Yeah, you guys have seen those yummy nummies stuff? Those, it's basically, do you remember, Reese, the concept of powdered like water or water food. Like it comes in a powder. You pour it down and put water on it, and it becomes your food.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially that, but even more disgusting. Basically, what happens is they give you all these packets, right? And nothing in the box is organic whatsoever. You get these little packets of white powder, and you pour them into like a little cup, mix them with water, and you have this like goopy slime, and you put that through through like a strainer to make your pasta or whatever, and you make the meatballs and like the soda, and it's disgusting. But also, I can't imagine that the easy bake ovens should be able to cook Lunchables. See, I remember actually never cooking Lunchables pizzas. I always ate those raw. I thought that was the best way to eat them.
I think you're right. Although I do think an easy bake oven should easily be able to cook Lunchables, but why would you bother?
You could, but why? Why would you do that? JonTron reaction videos have become me and my friend's way of talking to each other now.
Totally okay.
Because of his last couple ones, especially the thing about the PhDs, Carl, and really, it's not my freaking problem.
Yeah.
I do remember that. For some reason, I was listening to I was in the Wawa, and you guys aren't going to know what that is.
I know what it was.
Carl has one. But
what the hell is Wawa?
It's okay. Yeah, there's legit a chain of stores called Wawa, and it's a gas station where they actually make pretty good sub sandwiches.
Yeah, it's a gas station convenience store chain.
Okay, that actually, I was going to say, why have I never heard of this? But it actually makes sense because when I've gone to the East Coast, it's always been like in the urban centers where they don't have gas stations because it costs $1 million to park there, so everyone walks.
Yeah, they are everywhere. Like, I think there's a ton of them popping up down south now, but they were. There's always been several near us, and more show up overnight. I swear. It's kind of like McDonald's. Like we actually, where I live, we have a McDonald's, and then about like less than 1,000 feet or less than like 1,000 feet away, like one corner turn away is another McDonald's.
Yeah.
See, I have the better deal on the fast food restaurants because I got Chick-fil-A near me. I got a Whataburger. I'm good.
Well, I'm thankful that we used to just have like 2 Chick-fil-A's, one that's relatively close to me, and one that's about like 30 minutes away, and both of them are always so busy that you don't even bother. But recently, in the middle of town, where there'd be a lot of hubbub, they put another one down. So I'm excited about that because that means hopefully that with that extra one, it can take some of the attention off of the one by my house so I can go get some milkshake.
Some good old chicken sandwiches, man.
Yeah, they everything they make is really good, and I'm very happy that they're becoming more successful because the food is genuinely healthier for you. I mean, yeah, it's still fast food, but it's much more of it is actual chicken than most other restaurants. And I've never enjoyed the whole thing of Chick-fil-A is not allowed to exist because they have some belief that's different from mine. Like if that was the case for me, I'd be buying from nobody. But I can understand why some people can be upset by it.
I mean, Chick-fil-A doesn't align with your beliefs. They're Southern Baptists.
Well, the funny thing is, when I was younger, people always told me, "Oh, they're a Catholic company." So I always said they're a Catholic company, but no, they are Baptist. And what was it? The whole thing. I remember when that restaurant or when the one Chick-fil-A actually went out of the way to incorporate, or they actually let's see now Scott's asking about my thing, and I will be talking about it in just a second. That'll be like when the clock hits 9:50. That's when we're gonna start. We're just kind of having a warm up because we actually have we've got like a little group showing up here.
We've got 2 minutes for you to finish your Chick-fil-A story. So go.
I used to think that every Baptist was Westboro. What the hell is this guy's profile picture? Is that Gibby from iCarly?
Yes.
I don't even know what you're saying. Were those words?
Yes, it was a TV show, but like his picture is like Gibby from iCarly, but his head is pasted on someone's torso. Like
So,
it's amazing. I don't regret stopping my conversation. Like I'm blown away by this man's picture.
so I don't care. First of all, I would have liked to apologize on behalf of all. Well, I've never been Baptist, but for the people that call themselves Baptists, those Westboro folks, they are not.
I think it's sad. A lot of people actually have that misconception that that's what Christians are like. Like I don't know. To me, it's the same kind of backwards thinking as like saying it's like every Muslim you'll ever meet is like a terrorist or supports terrorists. Like it's too big of a jump.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but let's see. There he is. I'm Hatchet Head Carl. I can't tell if that's a jab at you, Carl, or if that's his actual name. I always did think, as a man, Carl, he got a chin. I could chop wood with that. But anyway, so yeah, thank you, Mr. Hatchet Head. I don't care. um, really nice to have you here tonight. Profile pic is legendary. I get the reference. Yeah, Scott, you would. You're a youngin.
A zoomer.
He's a zoomer. I'm still getting used to that term. But yeah, so
The
I'm
Zeds.
trying to think of the way to unpack the story that I'm crafting with the webcomic because it's Carl can tell you it's a bit of there's a lot to go with, but I'm very happy with the way it's turning out. And it's something that so about 10 years ago, I guess I'll start with like how I came about writing this whole story. So about 10 years ago in 2009, a Sonic the Hedgehog game was released called Sonic and the Black Knight. And while many Sonic fans think this game is terrible, and it really kind of is,
It
I was like entranced by it. I remember like that really got me hooked on things. I remember buying or Knights of the Round Table books from the library, or not buying them, but I'd rent them from the library and I'd read them, and like I'd buy the version that wasn't quite. It was like it wasn't really abridged, so like a lot of it was in Old English, and it was hard to understand. But I just kind of nodded my head and was like, yeah, I get what's going on. And I remember things like because the story of King Arthur actually begins with he's like a bastard child. Like I remember he was
So
born of an affair.
you got into Arthurian literature because of a terrible Sonic game.
That's pretty much it. But I was so hooked, and I remember thinking, I was like, oh, and that's because you remember in the Lancelot was Shadow, and Knuckles was Gawain, and Blaze was Percival. And I remember one of those characters were in the book. I was like, oh, it's just like them. So yeah, and then like I decided that I really liked writing as a kid. I liked coming up with stories. I remember whenever we did like a creative writing assignment in our literature class, like we'd have to come up with our own version of The Lion and the Mouse, or any similar or like sometimes we'd have to adapt the story and apply, like change the characters around. And I remember loving doing that. So I remember just trying. I was like, oh well, maybe I should come up with my own story. And I started writing this thing called Dragblade. At the time, it was because had the word, because I was like, oh, it's like a dragon. Oh yeah, that's really cool. And it was kind of, I remember my parents being pretty happy with it. Um, but I was there, and I remember drawing this character. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be like a kid, and he's gonna be a knight. He's gonna go off and he's gonna fight the bad guy. And that sounds horribly generic, and that's kind of because it is. And then over the years, I found things like what I'm gonna call British humor. I know that that's a term in and of itself, but like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like really heavy observational humor. Um, and like I really enjoyed that. So then I started thinking, I was like, oh well, and I started doodling around with knights, and I made this kind of creepy, or I don't know, kind of creepy, kind of cute uh, little knight character. His face is always obscured. He's got these two large white eyes, and that's all you can see. And I remember thinking, I was like, wait, didn't I have like a character several years? several years ago. Like I wrote as a kid, and I was like, oh yeah, Sir Dragblade. And I started thinking because I drew him so small, I was just like, well, yeah, you'd be dragging your blade everywhere you can. Like you're tiny, and that kind of then the name kind of morphed into that. He's called that not because he's like a big dragon killer or anything like that. It's because he has a bad habit of leaving or having his sword like kind of lag behind him, like he just drags it all in the dirt. And then that's kind of like one of the earlier jokes in the book was that you think it's like you hear Sir Dragblade and you're like, oh, that's gonna be like this really cool, really tough guy, and really he's not. One of the taglines for the book is "Knight by technicality." Like he's not chivalrous. He's not really like he doesn't care. He's a little apathetic. He buys all his stuff, like all his gear secondhand. He's missing a shoulder pad. His sword has a bite taken out of it. He doesn't have he's wearing bread on his feet instead of actual shoes, and that was a joke on because you know how those old medieval shoes, like you always see in like drawings and cartoons and such, they look like bread. They look like little baguettes. And I'm actually gonna see if I can. I might do a screen share or something right here to see if I can figure out how, because I've never done that before. Oh, here it is. So I'm gonna go and find a picture of it that I posted onto Twitter and turn on screen share for a second.
Well, Matt, I'd like to point out that your girl says you sound like you were an adorable kid.
Not to brag, but I was. I actually really appreciate that. So let's see. And I remember when I was 14, like it became much more grim. It was a bit of a macabre, not macabre, but morbid. That's the term I'm looking for. It became kind of a more morbid story. And I'm all right. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up the screen share.
Like Berserk, if written by a 14-year-old.
It was a little bit. You should check out other Grimm tales, or you should check out Brothers Grimm's tales. Yeah, I remember hearing about that as a kid, but for some reason, although I was okay with adultery and everything else, even though I really didn't understand it at the time. Yeah, okay, Scott says it best. It's like, do you hear the story of Sir Dragblade, the hero of the kingdom? And you just hear the sound of metal dragging across the gravel. Like that's actually kind of a key feature of his is like, most they ride on horses. He rides on a horsefly. There's a massive mutant fly that he has. That's his steed. When he's walking around, you just hear. He's like this little guy walking around, dragging his sword behind him. That the edge of the sword is actually blunted out. It's got this angle to it because it's been whittled down by being dragged across the floor. And let's see, just a second. Hey, I'm gonna put this screen share.
All right.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, here's the character. As you can see, like there's the one shoulder pad. It's on the left. It's on the left shoulder here, but in the actual book, I've changed it to be the right shoulder. This was a picture I actually drew last year. School just keeps kind of getting in the way of me doing these things, and I kind of and see like his hat or his helmet or all of his gear is just old. There's his bread shoes. I call them loafers. He's got, and yeah, you might notice that there's this paper cup or that is presumably full of soda. And that's one of the other things about this world is this isn't your normal fairy tale world. And I know that sounds like Shrek and everything else, but this is kind of the complete and utter bastardization of the fantasy genre. Like you're going to see mega corporations, mutants, some sci-fi stuff, making fun of fantasy tropes, bad guys named after swear words. Yeah, that's actually going to be the main focus of the book or of the series. Is he's going after Lord Van Dammit, the great ruler of Damatal. Yeah, he's going to meet a lot of characters along the way that I'm very excited to share. I also came up with it across high school. There was a bit like I really wanted to do this back when I was first getting into or when I was first doing cartoons, like I've shared the story before, I got into cartooning because I saw this web series called Battle for Dream Island, and I found out it was at least began by these two 12-year-old kids in California. And I thought, and at the age of 11, I was like, oh wow, if they, these guys did that, and what I should be able to too. And that's not a healthy way of thinking. There are some people that just get there faster than everyone else, and it's not a good way to go about things. Just take your time. And eventually I turned into, like, I wanted to copy them. I wanted to copy their show. And then I was like, nah, I'm better than that. And then I came back a couple of years later, I worked on this. And the story I've shared before time and time again, I kind of gave up on cartooning. I stopped and I got really ill and fell into like a depressive spell in the end of 2014. And I just kind of gave up. I went and I started just focusing on getting, let's see. I'm getting a message from my friend Catbit or Toonmation. He wants to know if he could join in the conversation, I guess, and talk about his cartoon that he's working on. And we don't really have anybody on the schedule, so that's up to you, Reese.
Yeah, that's fine, man.
Yeah, I think what we will do though, Kat, or if you're probably gonna have to send him a Twitter invite, but
Yeah.
I think what we will do is that it'll be me, then Matt will or other Matt will talk about his story that he's working on or that he's been working on, whichever story he cares to talk about tonight. And then we can get to, and then we'll get to these in in a little bit of an order.
Okay, so order going to be
this order, the New World Order, the Mattriarchy. One other thing that I kind of tried to do, and I'd like to work this back in there, is Carl, you might be able to see there's these little dashed lines right under his neck and like kind of where the shadows would be. And what I kind of wanted to do with that is there's a lot of like medieval and a lot of medieval cartoons and political cartoons from across the ages. That's what they did. Like if you look across a lot of the political cartoons from like early colonial days all the way to like, I'd even argue past the Civil War, you'll find these like little, it just kind of gives it this old timey kind of look. And that's another theme of the series, is things that we've forgotten. You see, one way I kind of advertise, or like I would advertise, and one of the key points of the story is that this actually takes place on the same Earth that we live in, but like we managed to forget everything so hard that it's like it never happened, or that it's so dumb you'd never believe it. It's like the title of the book, that if I ever were to release this in like a big hardcover book, because this is a joke inside the story itself, is there's a history book called Actual History. And the idea is that your history teacher lied to you and that the world was really much more exciting than it actually is.
You mean
so forget it all?
You mean like it really is? Is that the?
Yeah, it's whatever happened, or something happened and the world changed drastically. And this is the story of how it happened. And this little guy right here, who just wants to get who just wants to get his jobs out of the way so he can go home and lounge. He's kind of the key to it all. So that's kind of the basic premise of it, and it's being worked on little bits at a time. Like I said, school has been eating up a lot of time, and also like sometimes when you finish up, I do play a lot of video games. I think that's one of the other things that's been slowing me down, is like I'll get to the end of a day of working on stuff, and sometimes I'll just be like, all right, I'm gonna go play some video games for a little bit. It turns into a lot of time, and then you've got to go to your responsibilities. One thing I'm actually noticing with this picture I'm sharing is behind the cloud right there, you can kind of see the faint outline of when I had to draw like a Mountain Dew can for art class.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just kind of seeing that now. I remember when I brought this in to my art teacher and I was talking to him, I was like, this is what I've been practicing on my own time. And she had kind of seen me across the entire semester, like improving little bits at a time. And I started out with these really crappy drawings. There's Easy Bit Coven, welcome back. Like she was just very impressed by it, and she's just like, well, if you want to draw the final like this, you're completely welcome to. And that was the let's see what their Easy Bit Coven says. What did I miss? I guess everything. But when did you back out? But yeah, that's kind of the story of how it happened. In about, I'd say when I started thinking about doing it again seriously, like I doodled the character on and off from there, and because I remember talking to him about Danielle. I remember talking to her about the character before we even started dating, because we were both really into cartoons. And I think I must have gotten back into it, like seriously considering it last year. Like stuff was blowing up with creator-owned content. Reese, did you send Toon the invite?
I have not yet. No.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna wait for a little while and then ask you how to get a hold of him because I don't know Toon.
Or like his name on YouTube is Toonmation, but his Twitter handle is Catbit, isn't it? I believe so. That's what he goes. Or I know it's his nickname, but like let's see. Yes, at Toonmation is also his name on Twitter.
Okay, at Toonmation. Okay.
Yeah, it should be Catbit by my commissions. In parenthesis. Let's see. But yeah, I got back into it last year. I saw I heard about Patreon. This is kind of before the whole crowdfunding thing blew up. I heard about Patreon, and I had heard stories about people getting their stories out there and being able to support themselves and have a hobby that turned into a career. And I thought, well, I'm getting older. As I'm working towards this psychology degree, maybe I can try this. And this is like my kind of the last chance, or like kind of my one last shot towards this goal, which, I mean, looking back on it, that's not the case at all. Donald DeLay started at like 37, and he's cranking out the art that he's got. So you're really never too old, and I wish I really grasped that. I'd heard people say it, but I didn't believe it. And I had drawn out other cartoons that I'm also very proud of, that I also drew across the years, and just thought about, like, I did a lot of thinking for this stuff, even if I was never actually going to do it. Like, or I told myself I was never going to do it until eventually. There's Danielle saying, "I told you, Matt." I wish I would have listened to you. This is a case of this is gonna be a long-standing tradition. Old as time itself. The woman is always right.
No, not always.
There's deep-seated relationship issues I'm smelling.
No. It's just nobody's always right.
Nah, but that old thing. It's like, oh man, there was actually some really good joke about that recently, where it's like about, like, you can't really argue with your wife. Your wife's always right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. If I were to, I think, and then I saw, when I came online, I found this community and everything, and about making my own cartoons. And I met other people who are very similar. I was actually amazed at like how similar me and Carl's story. I'd start talking to him, was like, yeah, it was kind of surprising I met Danielle because I'm homeschooled. And he's like, oh, that gives me hope because I'm homeschooled. I'm like, what the? And then, you start talking, so fine, what's your favorite this or that? It's like this. And I'm like, what? There's a bunch of other people. It's like, yeah, growing up was a little weird because I was homeschooled, and be like, what the hell? How am I finding all these people?
Well, it makes you feel better, Matt. I was only homeschooled for like 2 years, but my children are homeschooled. So
yeah, see, it's like that, and then you have Deputy Rust. He's homeschooled. Let's see, Easy Big Coven. It's really not a matter of who is right, rather than who is better at arguing.
that is also false. because I'll tell you right now, I'm way better at arguing, but that doesn't mean you win.
Yeah. Let me see.
I am very good at arguing. I have this. It's sort of a bad habit. I tend to because whatever opinions I have them so firmly that I sort of end up browbeating people with words. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm correct. It just means that everyone else feels angry or stupid or or angry because I made them feel stupid.
Yeah, Danielle says, lol, I guess I don't like the whole the woman is always right because I'll readily admit that I make mistakes. Danielle's mindset is that the Danielle is always wrong. That's the way she kind of thinks about things. But you know, that's something we ever like. I actually know a lot of people who kind of struggle with that, and you know, like they're always wrong. They're like, you know, they it's like not. I'm trying to think of the best way to say it. They're not confident, or like they kind of lack that confidence in themselves. Like, you know, they really could be, you know, completely correct. They're just like a little too nervous to say so, and you just got to kind of encourage them, let them in, like, because once you get that sense of confidence in self or sense of self, like it, all of that just melts away. You feel like you're in control of your own life. And I know that's like really blunt, but that's just the truth of it. I went to public school for 10 years, one of the few in our server who wasn't homeschooled. Yeah, I guess that's another thing. Reese, is that we have a Discord server.
Right.
We have a group of like I'd say like 8-9 people, or whatever it is, and we talk regularly. We share memes, we tell saucy jokes, and we also share artwork around from each other and from other artists. Like we shared, yeah, like I shared like my Andrew Huerta imitation art because I'm doing a presentation on him. Cool.
Oh.
Yeah, I get to imitate his. I have to imitate his artwork, and I have to do a 10-minute presentation on him for the art final.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I actually got hold of him for a second time and asked him some more questions about his life and career as an artist, and I feel like I learned a lot. And it was also just really cool to talk to him again. We ended up just talking, like after the interview was over, we just started talking to each other for a while about geek culture, Twitter, and different people, and you meet them and what they're like and stuff like that. Okay, there's Kat. Welcome, Kat. Oh, is he there?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, didn't this happen the first time we invited him on? Carl, he was having like microphone issues.
I think so. Yeah.
I think that was on one of the house party episodes. So, you know, nothing against him. Let's see. I'm still in public school or public high school. Okay, I didn't know COVID was. I can never tell how my you know, when people talk about having a gaydar, like they can tell when someone's gay, and like you have that. But when like I don't have an age dar. I cannot tell how old some people are. Like I thought Scott was way older than he actually was.
Yeah, it depends, you know.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm still in public high school, but I grew up in a Catholic school, so I guess I wasn't prepared for all the secular shit. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just because it's high school, public college, or just because it's high school, public college is actually, from my experience, pretty chill. I'd say the same. I don't know what it is, but also as a kid, being homeschooled from kindergarten and all the way through, uh, I was never actually like I never actually went to a public school, so I wouldn't be. I used to think I was like, oh, you know, in like Jimmy Neutron, you got like the bullies, and you have this, that, and the other. You know, the schools look terrible, and then you know you get older, so maybe that was an exaggeration. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott says 18 tomorrow. Oh, congratulations, Scott. I actually had no idea. I would have maybe drawn something for you. Yeah, I'll try to work that in if I can. That'd be cool. Let's see. There are no more. There were bullies in elementary school though. See, the thing about elementary school years is I remember being pretty mean to other kids. I didn't really understand how to control my temper when I was younger, and I actually was the type of kid who would hit others. But like as I got older, that melted away, and like I'm actually people have come up to me and they're like, I'd be like, oh hey, how are you? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember me. Like you threw a rock at my head when I was like 3 years old. And I'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. And like, how are you so different from when you were little? They're like, you're nothing like the little kid, the angry little kid that hit everybody. And it's just kind of the way life goes, you know. It's actually kind of a trope, where like, you know, you have the bully character that's mean to everyone as a kid, but then grows up and is like the most wholesome or like sweethearted person. Kat is jumping in and out. I think he's still having microphone issues. Let's see. Well, let's see. There were bullies in elementary school. Oh yeah. Who all has wrenches? I'm kind of curious.
So I just discovered how to do that. So I gave one to Danielle. I gave one to Poke Fire if she ever comes back, and I gave one to
Carl Fredrickson.
I think
No, Carl Benjamin.
No, Carl Sagan.
I think about 3, but I'm only seeing.
Yeah, fine. I'll type a message in this chat and see it. I better have a.
I think
there it is. I have it.
Is it you?
I have a wrench.
There you have it. I thought I gave out 3.
Alrighty then.
Yes, I feel in power.
Yes.
I have the wrench. Carl Weezer.
Carl Weezer.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Oh,
Yes.
there you go.
You are inside the cave of wonders.
So what the hell do we call you?
Just call him Cat. That's what I call him.
Yeah.
Call me Capit. That's what I go by online.
Okay.
Or Carbit.
Kat, thanks for having us. Sorry about the confusion with getting you sent the link. I tried DMing you on Twitter and it wouldn't let me.
It's fine. I have to transfer to my tablet just to get this to work.
It really do be like that sometimes.
Yes.
On the
I
tab.
guess going in the order of things, yeah, for some reason there's I'm just getting a bunch of messages on my phone from Discord when you were trying to get my attention to have you on here. And like I'm getting messages from the server, but for some reason messages that are old on Discord, like from my computer, don't get sent to my phone like 15 minutes later. It's weird. Yeah.
Right, so did anyone else say their cartoon ideas, or?
I think we're gonna have Reese go next because like that's what we were that was like the order of things tonight. But then we'll try to.
So Matt, I do have a couple of questions on your project.
Yeah.
I've been kind of trying to do like everything all at once over here. Do some back end stuff and blah 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 blah. But anyway. So you said that the world in which this is taking place is like our world, right? Where that there's this alternate history that's the real history of that world, but it ended up in the same spot that ours did.
Yeah, like it's our world really that we're living in right now.
So your drag blade, is he modern?
The story itself actually takes place in 1297.
Okay.
But it's like, you know, they've got corporations and everything, and it's kind of the play on this idea of, you know, you give it 100 years, the world is unrecognizable to a person. You know, everything changes so much, and that was kind of a joke on like the most drastic, extreme changes. Like, you know, magic existed. You have this, that, and the other. You have you've got things like Scotland and Ireland were once one massive country. But it turns out when you have a country comprised of angry drunk people, they decide that they don't like each other very much. They split into 2 groups, get out shovels, and personally dig a ditch between the 2, and then send Ireland off packing.
Wow.
Yeah, they like that's kind of Scottish, and then it turns into the Scots and the Irish. And they just split off. That's one of my favorite things I've come up with is that it was one country until these people got together with shovels and they just dug it until Ireland was just floating away. And And then the British government comes up and they go, "Excuse me, is that like half of your armed forces going off yonder?" Yeah, it is. Yes. What? And no, he's like, "And good riddance." And then the British Army just shows up all these guns and stuff, and they're like, "Yes, good riddance indeed." And, yeah, that's one of the gags. There was a lot of others that I'm gonna reveal in due time as the story comes out. So yeah, the main character is actually Scottish. He's from before. He's like the divide was relatively recent, and he was born when it was happening, or born relatively close to. And as this all happened, my other favorite thing I've come up with is that like I turned the British government into this kind of the kind of stereotypical it's like this or dystopian mega or Britain spelled Briddin is this like dystopian like they've got big corporations everywhere and stuff like that, and like this isn't like to push a message. I just thought it was kind of funny. And they've got like this kind of disregard for life, and it's like they say the sun never sets on British soil. To make sure of this, we conquered the sun as well.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That is incredibly. Wait, can you guys hear me?
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's that. To make sure of this, we've conquered the sun as well. That may actually be the best joke I've ever heard.
Yeah, and then there's just like a little Union Jack floating in space, like a little. There's like a skeleton in a spacesuit, and it's like giving a thumbs up.
The skeleton needs to be charred, though.
Yeah, it's gonna be like burned up. He's got like a little like crappy spacesuit on. They've got, but yeah, like a lot of the countries are intentionally misspelled because that's the way they were spelled in the first place. Is there's in Iceland doesn't exist. It's called Damatal because the main villain is this barbarian Viking king named Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he's this massive hulking dude bro with a battle axe that has a saw blade in it, and but he takes nothing seriously. Like for every year, he throws this massive birthday festival in London. He goes in and he invades. He's considered a threat to the entire world, but he just goes in for like one day, throws a massive party.
Whoa, sorry.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of stuff like that. He's probably turning into one of my favorite characters just because of how much fun he is to write. Yeah, that's kind of the way that that's kind of the way the world is in this book. Is it's a play on the idea of the world that can change so much in like just a little bit of time. So instead of the lean, mean karate machine, he's Conan. Imagine Conan if he like just chugged Monster 24/7, had a demon on his shoulder, and was like into like death metal. He has that's the other thing is he has this little demon that follows him around named Eiffel. That the tower is actually named after, but that's a separate story of its own. And Eiffel is actually like a priest cursed him with this, or like some wizard cursed him to be followed by a demon for all eternity. But the problem is the two of them actually became best friends. And that's like another part of it. And like the big main plot of the story is that Joe is or because his name is Joseph or Joe. He's going out with his sword that has a bite taken out of it. He bought it secondhand, and he's gonna go kill Van Damme.
Incredible.
Yeah, see, Easy Bake Coven says, sounds like a guy I want to be friends with, particularly the death metal part. He's pretty charismatic. Like he's really a friendly dude.
When he's not, like
when he's not slaughtering your village. I do think it's oh man, I've got so many great ideas. that I'm actually holding back on a lot of the things I'm saying here because I feel like they'd be kind of spoilerish.
I think it could be best summarized by what you told me about it in one conversation. Just imagine the Middle Ages, except technology advanced way too far, way too quickly.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea. Is there have been several industrial and cultural revolutions several times over, and all in the span of like a really short amount of time. Yeah. So, any other questions?
No, actually, that sums it up. Well, it's an interesting thing, kind of playing with that idea because in the deep lore behind our universe, there's actually some similar elements to that, in terms of the concept of industrial and technological revolutions being cyclical, and about knowledge being lost over time. I would want to get in that right quick because, Kat, I'd like actually go ahead and if you want to go ahead and talk about your thing, that'd be great.
Nah, you go ahead, man. I'm interested.
Okay, so the hang on a second because I was wanted to buy a couple of minutes while I put some ideas together in my head.
That's fine. I'm just like just tweeting up some crap on Twitter.
I see.
That's like
Yeah.
that's a bit of an oxymoron.
No, it's redundant.
Yes, I'm sorry, redundant is the term.
Jesus Christ, there's so much drama happening with Pro Jared, but I don't think like you guys want to talk about that here for obvious reasons.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that for well, geez, but yeah, that has been like a really disappointing part of my day because I really used to love his videos a lot, and I still think he made good videos, but geez.
Most of the only members of the Normal Boots cast I prefer was just like John Tron and the Completionist growing up.
I mean, I remember really liking Peanut Butter Gamer, but then I remember how quick he was to throw JonTron under the bus before
Yeah,
before JonTron even got in trouble, and then
and the fact that he's willing to defend Pro Jared for what he did.
one thing I did see is that he apologized for it, but a part of me just thinks that he's doing that because everyone called him out. That's the hard thing about the internet is it's kind of hard to tell when something's genuine because you don't have all the details.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean,
Strange to me
One-
about that
it's-
all sorts of situations is how invested people are in business that just isn't theirs.
Isn't theirs?
You
Yeah, I
know?
mean that's my one bit of it, but then also like
it's
all
the
this stuff
internet
was kind
drama.
of out there, and he was just gonna go scot free with it. And there's all the thing about like, I think the stuff about the center trading around nude pictures with girls that some of which were underage. I think that should be public information because that's really disturbing.
Totally related. I just have to go on my Twitter screen right now. It says it has the hashtag ProJared. It says alleged YouTuber cheating scandal unfolds in the public eye.
Alleged YouTuber. Yeah, I mean that was one of the other funniest things. Like allegedly a YouTuber, you know, a million subscribers.
Is it coincidental that like on the same day Pro Jared had this whole drama happen, the same day JonTron got married?
Wait, he got married?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Oh, the phone. Where's this?
Is it a coincidence that like JonTron got married on the same day like Pro Jared's career is just like crumbling underneath his feet?
Yeah, I have no idea.
that just that just simply means that as a gamer, JonTron has unlocked the good ending. The good ending where he gets married and his enemies crumble.
Oh, yeah, he did Fallout 4 with the peaceful ending. Oh,
He did the what's the opposite of the genocide route? Because that's what Pro Jared was playing, the genocide route speed run. How fast can I destroy everything in 24 hours?
I'm pretty sure the Sonic Adventure 2 fan base are just like celebrating in joy while Pro Jared while this whole mess is happening.
I think that his thing about I actually think his Sonic Adventure 2 video was good for discourse because everybody just kind of kissed the butt of Sonic Adventure 2 when it had a lot of problems. Same with the first game. And when he made his video that made so many people angry, I was like, Eric, because I played those games. I didn't play those growing up. I played those as a teenager. And when I got past like a lot of the Sonic stuff, I was like, this kind of sucks. And when he said it, and I was like, dang. So let's see. John Tron is pretty funny. Not knowing Pro Jared is for the best, I think. Zach Hawkins. I don't know who either of those people are, and I think that's for the best. John Tron's worth knowing. He's very funny. He's made a lot of really great videos, and Pro Jared made a lot of great videos, but I don't think he's gonna make any more.
Especially, I'm pretty sure in a couple months or so you'll be seeing him flipping burgers at a local McDonald's.
It's kind of sad to think that that's how this industry works. Is you mess up, and in his case, he messed up big time. You're done. Let's see, what a peace funding of Fallout 4 is there? You're either a terrorist, the leader of an evil organization, or the police commissioner.
Well, to quote a friend of mine's, like he blames Mr. Roger for like this whole generation of like people refusing to forgive others.
Why Mr. Rogers? Because like he was so sweet.
No, because like Mr. Rogers implemented this mentality that like that not everybody who apologizes is being genuine or something.
I see. I'd have to. That sounds like there's
pick that up in my childhood of watching the Land of Make Believe. In the chat, Scott Bruckner says, "What peaceful ending for Fallout is there? If you play your cards right and you don't join any of the factions when they want to eliminate the other factions, you can run a path down the middle where all of the factions exist peacefully at the end and only attack mutants and ghouls and what's left of the Institute." So you take down the Institute. You end up taking down the Institute with the Minutemen after you do most of the quests for the Brotherhood. So
I remember seeing an edit of the
yes, there are spoilers. I will give you that, but the game is also like 6 years old. I'm sorry. There's a statute of limitations on this shit.
Also, Danielle, yes, it's the same Mr. Roger.
See, I'd have to I feel like there's a story behind that with Mr. Rogers, but one of the issues, or I'm trying to think about some things I had. I think people were just a little too sheltered, and also it's like because you have a lot of people that they don't really stick up for themselves. Like they're kind of just like immediately they fall in line, and there's a lot of anxiety. There's a ton of like the anxiety and depression diagnosis levels have skyrocketed.
Well, I think part of that is that we have this idea that freedom is getting to do what you want, is getting what you want, right?
I think,
but that's not what freedom is. Freedom is the ability to stand on your own, right?
Okay. Let me say this. I mean, it's like, and this is coming from a friend of mine. This is coming from the same friend. Despite the fact that he's a millennial, he's against his own kind.
It's
but like yeah, he hates how like how a lot of people nowadays are just like so have this obnoxious black and white view towards the world, and like anybody who has a gray view on it is automatically bad or something.
Yeah, it's I don't like that. I feel like we all because it's not even a Christianity thing. I feel like forgiveness is good for the world because no one's gonna get through life. Like, I mean, very few people are gonna be able to get through life making mistakes and or not making mistakes. And most of the time, if they look like they haven't, you just haven't heard about them yet.
It's funny. I mean, it's like I should be the one who should be doing this because like I've been hurt growing up, but it's like for some reason like instead of just like being so negative and having difficulties forgiving people, like I don't know, it's just like a gray view on the world. But I don't know, it's like I don't know, I just like I don't know, I just prefer defending some of the art people I'm mutuals with because they're genuine good people even if they say and do stupid things at times.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the way it is. I really hate this mentality. You cannot forgive, or like, oh, this person said this, or this person's beliefs, or like this person has like these really old fashioned kind of set or kind of racist beliefs or something. But like you're like, I know a lot of people that have beliefs I think are absolutely terrible. But like, I wouldn't give them up. It's like, no, are you kidding me? That's my aunt, or that's a friend of mine. I'm not gonna throw them out to the dogs.
I mean, I feel like I'm more shocked about the fact that like people just like get angry at you guys and just like attack, including me. But it's like, here's the thing: I'm bisexual myself, and it's like even I like believe some of the things people say like is, hey, say ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm a 50% gay guy who's against some of the views the LGBT community has, especially the outspoken ones. You
Well,
know
that's
which
what's
ones.
funny is it's like it shouldn't really be. I think people are talking about this a lot, where the concept of a community based on just one characteristic. It's kind of like if there was a spurred community, like we there's no way that would ever be able to exist because of the way Asperger's is. But
Yeah.
if it was just kind of the way that it's like, oh, this is good for the community, this is bad for the community. And you have people that can have wildly different beliefs on things. Like,
Mhm.
I've met a lot of people, like LGBT people who are Republican, and then they talk about the flack that they get for that, and people tell them that this, that, and the other. Um, but like really, it's just one part of you. It's like being, it's like being left-handed. Like it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal. Like, not all left-handed people are going to agree on things.
Mhm.
Let's see. I slam.
Hey, Matthew, are you gonna finally talk about your cartoon now?
Well, wouldn't I guess when it comes down to it, I have not a whole cartoon so much, not a cartoon so much as a whole universe. So we've been working, me and the guys that I do the comics, working since 2006 on a bunch of different projects that all take
Mhm.
place in the same universe. We have a webcomic called The Forces of Good and Evil. And with that, in fact, I'm going to put a link in the chat here because I can do that on my own channel.
So are you gonna? So is this your own MCU?
Sort of. It's more like well, we took a lot of the inspiration for the formation off it, based on not based on, but informed by the New Earth continuity of DC Comics
Hmm.
after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, where it's got the concept of a single universe that has a legacy from the first dawn of the superheroes in the 30s all the way up through the modern era.
Hmm.
And so that's um, uh, that's the context in which all of our stories happen, whether they are the like our Forces of Good and Evil, which is it's a comedy action webcomic about about teenagers in superhero and supervillain high schools, and it's mostly played for laughs. It's pretty light key. We've got a little bit of teen angst in there, but that takes place in the same universe as we're getting ready on June 1st. We're going to be launching an Indiegogo campaign for a story called Vox Populi, and
Mhm.
that features our the Expositioner, who is a powered but a street level urban detective, um, where he's
Mhm.
basically he's an outlaw detective who was a member of a security force that contracted with the city of Fremont, Colorado, where he's from, and he crossed the wrong guy and was framed for a crime. He's been on the run from the cops since then, but he's not the kind of guy to take a thing lying down. So he operates in the shadows as
Mhm.
an outlaw detective, trying to solve crimes that the cops don't notice or that they're outclassed for, without the
Mhm.
politics of dealing with for a government contractor.
Hmm.
So, and in this particular story, he is trying to track down these missing persons cases that intersect with a series of destructions of local buildings, and with that, he ends up discovering that there is a monster or monsters that's involved. So that's those are some of the stuff that we have going on with all of that. We've actually got several other projects that are in there, but our universe is built on an alternate history that spans back to the very dawn of time, where things are just a little bit different than our own universe. There are gods and beasts and demons, and many of the mythic stories of different worlds, folklores are real and true. But throughout the course of time, those events have ended up reshaping history in small bits. And so, for example, if heroes of ancient myth, many of them were real beings, some of them even superpowered beings, but their children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren had progressively less and less power as it went along, and eventually settled in with the baseline of humanity. And part of the reason that happened is because of the tribalization of the world as these gene types were separated and distinctified across all these different tribal and cultural groups. And so one of the things that happens in the 20th century and why we have this first birth of the superheroes is that these different gene types recombine through the natural miscegenation that happened as part of the American melting pot. And so 2 and 3 and 4 generations down the road of all this quote unquote race mixing ends up creating these super people that start being either have powers or are susceptible for gaining powers based upon, superhero accidents, getting struck by lightning or getting blown up or whatever. And as that happens, so that happens at the same time as the it's starting in America and then spreading out across the world. And so this reshapes the 20th century history. So between the 12th century and the 20th century, things are very much the same as our own history, with the exception of a few new cities and places that have sprung up and all that kind of stuff. But by the time the 20th century hits, it becomes drastically different. So, for example, Barack Obama was never president. Neither was Richard Nixon, right? There was a Cold War, but it wasn't a Cold War like we had, where it was between nuclear powers. It was between superhero powers, where the 4 superpowers on the super nation on the Earth started creating super soldiers, and those super soldiers were for fighting proxy battles instead of having open warfare. So your average American sitting at the home, in the 1950s, wasn't under a nuclear threat, but there were active fights going on across the oceans between smaller armies of super soldiers, and that ended up being resolved. And later on, another thing that happened shortly after the resolution of the Cold War is there was an alien invasion by a race of aliens called the Aquarians, who had their own home blew up, and they migrated mass to Earth and assumed that since here's this great planet full of all this water, they should be allowed to live there, because where else they're going to be? And through their presumption and through this strange thread, it became another cycle of war that ended up happening, and then finding a peaceful resolution to that as well. So there's lots of that kind of stuff that's worked into our universe, where it's not so much like an MCU. There's like there's just it's kind of a whole thing though. But yeah.
And now Scott is actually in the chats. He was saying that he didn't go back to the dawn of time. He went back or in his stories, he's going back to the Second World War, and he's going to have essentially a Dr. Manhattan be born. And I made a Austin Powers joke, and I said, it's Dr. Manhattan. He didn't go to medical school to be called Mr. Thank you very much. As immature and crass as those movies are, they have some really great moments.
See,
Mhm.
I think the first one was great.
I haven't seen the second one. All I know is there's a character called Fat Bastard, and he says, "Get in my belly."
That's true. The second one kind of recycled the jokes that didn't work from the first one and pretended they'd work. And then the third one recycled all the jokes that didn't work from the second one.
Ouch.
Yeah, I do not have a lot of hope on that. And thank you, Danielle. I hope it is interesting. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our universe as far as all of that works out. And we are actually working on several projects right now. The biggest one's going to be the Vox Populi story. We're anxiously looking forward for that one.
Hey, I have a question. Who's
the primary artist for Forces of Good and Evil? Yes, Goldmember was so bad.
Yeah, who's the artist behind this comic? And most of this stuff looks.
Okay, well,
I'm
actually,
sorry.
we've had the pleasure of working with a lot of artists over the years. It started as a program, as an operation between two writers, myself and Chris Lawton, and neither of us are artists, but when Forces began, we did the art for it. And so if you go back to the archives through the first probably 4 years worth of stuff, it was all Chris and me. And Chris was doing the pencil art, and I was doing the ink art. And it's pretty rough. There's moments where it's really fun, but it's not great. In fact,
You guys need
load up some shambles.
Gotta be honest with you, and I hope this doesn't come off as cruel, but you guys need quality control with your artist.
Okay. Well, back with the old stuff, like I was saying, that was just a couple of writers who were trying the thing out there. With our stuff we have now we've actually got two. And actually, let me load up some samples here while I'm talking about it, so those of you at home can see what all I'm talking about, because that makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
So, come on, where the heck's the thing? I'm in the wrong folder.
After this, it's Carl's turn, right?
No, Carl, I think, was just kind of joining in to talk about. I know. I guess me and Carl have been spitballing an idea about, like, if we were to make a video game based on his cartoon Hallgrave, like what we would do. That's been a pretty interesting conversation. He's actually muted himself. He might be taking out the trash, maybe taking a smoke break. Maybe he smokes you. Oh, no, there he is.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
Kinda
but that
sound
was
like a
something we
chain
were
smoker.
spitballing a lot. And we were talking about, it's like, oh yeah, if we were he was like, oh, if I were to make a video game based on your comic, I would do this, and it would be like a puzzle platformer of sorts, kind of based around. If you were to compare it to other things, it'd be like Blackthorn or Oddworld, like these kind of slower, a little, and like with more realistic physics, but it's less about making precise jumps and getting through the level. It's about getting through the level quickly, but rather you have to stop. You see like a situation on your screen, and you've got to think your way around it.
So, Carl, speaking of puzzle action games, have you ever played Neverhood or Army Krog, games that Doug TenNapel was involved with?
I have not played them, but I have seen them, and the claymation in them is impressive.
Oh my goodness, isn't it?
The thing about I don't think the Neverhood's ever been re-released, as far as I know, though, which sucks.
No, that's something that's very strange that it has not. Now, the sequel game, Skull Monkeys, I think was re-released for Steam, but I might be wrong about that. But we have an old PlayStation copy that my wife picked up before I ever met her.
I wish that I still had my PlayStation, like my PS2, because my mom sold it when I was at or she sold that and my GameCube when I was out at summer camp, because I hadn't used them in a while, but I wanted to hold on to them, and she didn't know that. She just thought she just sold them while I was at summer camp.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens.
So what I've actually got on the screen right now, these are shots from one of our other projects called Joe Jobs, and follows, and it's in that same universe, but it's not a superhero story per se. The blonde fellow right up front here, putting my arrow around, he is a former student at villain school from Forces who has decided he didn't want to be a villain, just wants to live a life on his terms. And part of that's just working a knock-a-day job, just trying to make all of that happen. So with that, it's his misadventures working in fast food or whatever other jobs he ends up having here. And the artist who is on this project is a guy named Rico Cobos, who's a buddy of ours, one of our partners. And he also has a project called The Warehouse that he is doing just on himself, which is anthropomorphic, cute, fuzzy animals in prison.
Yeah, he's got some really great jokes in there with The Warehouse.
Yeah, and one of the fun things about The Warehouse is coming up this, probably this weekend is when we're going to be able to get to it. We're going to be hosting digital copies of that on our Comic Express store. So we'll have that on those up there for people to purchase as well. They get a whole volume of it. He's actually got 5 books worth that we're going to be putting up there. But with this one, it's actually on our Patreon right now. And when we get finished with it, each issue, we're going to be taking those, putting those behind the paywall for our patrons, and we're going to be making digital copies available for sale through the store. And eventually we'll look at print copies too, but that's down the road a little on there.
What is art? I'm sorry, but it's like I'm sorry, I hope I'm not coming off as a dick, but it's like there's just so many art flaws with this.
Okay. So Rico is doing the pencils on the Expeditioner Lux Populi story, and the inks and colors are being done by Barry Tex.
I swear I swear your friend is gonna hate me just because of my thoughts on the artwork.
Oh, probably.
Who knows?
About taking criticism here.
Yeah, we got to be able to take criticism for sure. So that's the one way that goes around it. But one of the things it comes to is I know like not everybody's style is everyone's style too. But
yeah. So
But anyway, I've gone on quite a while about our universe, and it's coming up on 9 o'clock. Kat, go ahead and tell us about your thing.
Me. Well, okay, so I am trying to fix a couple things here and there, and it's like right here are some character designs that like that a good artist mutual of mine. I don't know if I could call him mutual or friend. He's a great guy. Go check him out. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. I don't know, like I've asked him if he could help me, what's the word, like refine the character designs, but it's like, okay, I'm rambling on about it a little bit, but it's like, so you guys know about how, so here's my question. You guys know about like those obnoxious creepypastas where like the game's possessed and all that shit?
It's always, you ever notice it's always like, I was at the garage sale and there was a game. It was normal. And the guy really wanted me to buy it. So I took it home. And it turns out it was possessed.
Yeah, I could tell it was possessed because on the title screen, Sonic was a wrong shade of blue, and his left eye twitched funny. Oh, and his was also bleeding.
Yeah, it's always bleeding. Did you see the 1EG's what is it called? His Doug Walker creepypasta? Where he drew Doug Walker, but he made his eyes black. Like they were playing on Microsoft. It was either Microsoft Paint or Mario Paint or something similar. So like the quality was terrible, but like, it was like that's not Doug Walker. He's like, yeah, this is like it was great. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, creepypasta. Sorry for interrupting.
Always hilarious to me because they're all literally the same thing.
Okay, I'm sorry for bringing up creepypasta, but it's like I don't know how to describe it, but it's like imagine like okay, so what if this game okay, let me rephrase that. It's like okay, so I don't want to get into the backstory yet because like I haven't fully thought it out yet, but a long story short, virus sentient virus hijacks a game some generic 3D platformer from the PlayStation era and gives it sentience.
That's a neat idea.
Oh, what happens?
How do you say like let's just say like these how do you say it's like well let's just say there's going to be some character development and some growth here and there, but it's essentially just like two guys traveling the world trying to find the meaning of trying to find a purpose in their existence.
Oh, like it's accidentally create like it's like some almost alien virus comes in. It's like yes, I shall build new life, and then it brings these guys in. They're just like and they get existential, and they're like, why do I even?
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
the world of a 3D platforming video game from the late 90s. I love that idea.
That's actually really great. Now does this feature your characters? Because I know you've actually made a little cast of characters surrounding your cat bit. Is he actually the main character, or?
Oh no, Cap, it's just an icon I use for a podcast. These are just some original characters.
Yeah,
All right, do you have screens that you could share, or like maybe some?
Yeah,
put it in
the link's in the chat.
if you
st-
get the screen share that sheet. I guess
I'm looking around
Uh,
for it in the chat.
how do I screen share?
these are some solid designs. I like them.
Where is it?
It's the stat. How do I screen share?
It should be like on the side for you.
Depends on whether you the computer version or the
I'm on my tablet.
yeah, I have no idea how to screen share with the tablet.
Yeah, the link is. I have just check on the link I posted.
he put it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Into like the YouTube chat.
No, not the YouTube chat. There's a Google chat for the Hangouts.
Yeah, I see a group chat, but it just says has left, has joined, has left, has joined.
Really, I could easily access this thing with the
Carl, just hold on. I don't know. It's like
Oh wait, no, I don't think you can leave the app right now. Let's see.
Yeah, it's weird. My group chat doesn't have any messages in there either, but my phone got a notification about it.
ah, damn it.
Yeah, it's not really your fault. It's
There's some sort of weird Google thing. It's not a big deal.
let's see.
take a screenshot of this, send it to my phone, and then activate my camera on my pad so we can get a better look of it.
Oh, great! It'll be just like Let's Plays in YouTube 2006.
Lol.
Pulling some dark side film stuff here.
Oh boy. Let's see. Never got into creepypastas, but I like the folks are being creative. See, that sounds like that's another thing. It sounds like it's a paradox. Creepypasta and the word creative, they don't go together.
It's not a creepypasta, god damn it.
No,
I
not
should've
yours.
never
I'm talking about when he's talking about creepypastas in general. And I just remember like when I was young, because like I've said before, I've never really been a big horror person. I like horror comedy, but that's about as far as I'll go. But when it comes to creepypastas, too many of them were just copied and pasted for me. Like, oh, have you seen this one? It's so scary, and they share it, and it's just the same story. Of I bought a copy from a garage sale. It looked scary. I went home. I put it in, and this happened.
Okay, so the image is on the phone now, but this might be a bit small. Should I put the camera on and?
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, camera's on. Switch the.
Why are you wearing a toque? It's like almost summer.
Oh god, you have a beard.
Yep, full
Wait.
beard.
You couldn't tell, but from his profile picture.
Yeah, but like that's a big.
Cool. I like you got some like let's see. Carl, start talking so I can.
So
I don't know.
these
Like, These are some
These-
character designs. The first two on the right, on the top, are like the main characters. You know, it's like
Roll in further.
Let's see. Scoot the you're pointing the phone downward. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, you kind of got some like Paper Mario in here. I kind of like that. You got the
you got the you know, one of my friends say like he's like how do you say,
I assume this guy is the either the main villain of the game itself or the virus.
no, the main villain of the first one. The virus is actually just like a glitched up looking flamingo.
all right. I mean, I'm all for flamingo. Let's see. I don't care. Says horror should be visual. Creepypastas aren't scary if you read them.
Some of
Um,
the some
I
of
don't
them are
scary stories. Like really quick before we get back to this. I just like to keep up with the chat.
but again, it's like some of the characters are you know, it's like how do you say, it's like it's not an action cartoon, it's more of an adventure cartoon since like, you know, heavily based around the games I used to play a lot as a kid, you know, like 3D collectathon platformers.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see. Danielle says I like your art style a lot.
I'll tell her thank you.
All
How
right,
you
yeah.
say?
Let's
How you
see.
say? It's like I want it to be a focus on like character development, character growth, and like some, you know, I don't know. It's like you know, world building, character growth, and like the origins of like the game and like how this virus came in and possessed everything.
It's a neat idea. I like
I
it.
really like how you turned the idea of the possessed or corrupted game cartridge into like this existential adventure with this
Yeah,
like really happy-go-lucky art. And I think
yeah.
as
It's
long
like
uh,
it's not like one game since like how you say, like they're separate bad guys since like I say it for some, okay, so it's not a cartridge but like some developer kit that happened to have, since like this is a trilogy, like some developer kit that had these games just got corrupted with this glitch and these characters just somehow became sentient about their towards their world.
Hmm.
actually really excited. Where are you going straight? Is this going to be a cartoon or is this going to be
Oh, it's a cartoon. I'm gonna be pitching it to when I go to Canada after I finish college.
all right, yeah. Have you could always like try to send it or like, you know, when you get your ideas together, you could talk to them before you even move. You could just be like, "Hey, what do you guys think?" Because a friend of mine told me I used to think that these studios and stuff were just completely unapproachable. Nobody would talk to them until I met a kid in my class who actually ended up working on Rise of the TMNT.
Hmm.
And you know, I know what he did. And I was like,
What?
"How'd you do this? Like, did you have connections?" He was like, "No, I literally sent them an email and said, hey, I'm this guy, or I'm a cartoonist from Maryland, and I would really enjoy working on Rise of the TMNT on the storyboards. Here are my ideas using the characters."
I don't know. It's like this is one of my most ambitious cartoon ideas yet because like most of the other stuff I have are just like episodic, being like how I said, this one is gonna be episodic, but there's gonna be like an underlying storyline throughout the whole ordeal.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. I mean, me and Carl are doing similar things because, you know, Hallgrave's got it's
And I
got
want to
an
be
overarching plot, and when it comes to Dragblade and my other comics that like have been kind of teased but not really
Mhm.
fully revealed yet, they also have an overarching plot, but they have like these episodic kind of stories.
Yeah, I want to like for like this one, I want to focus on like on like the kind of brotherly bond between like these two so friends, Boomer and Ardanius, who just happen to, you know, one who just refuses to go on adventures and just rather stay home and just sleep till noon, and the other one who's just like so hyperactive to the point that you just want him to shut up.
I always like that. Have you ever seen the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
No.
Well, it's a classic movie, but it's these two big name comedians from the '80s. You have Steve Martin and John Candy, and they're
Mhm.
basically um, in a similar kind of vein, with only with one of the characters, but like the one guy is like this very stern, sullen man who just wants to get home, or they both want to get home. Their flight gets canceled, and they get stuck on the world's weirdest road trip, trying to get back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like that. That like the character that John Candy plays, like he never stops talking. And I found, but it's so endearing, and I think there's I love those types of characters, and maybe that's just because I talk too much, but that's my jam right there.
But it's like, yeah, it's like one is stern and such, but like as you realize later, and he's kind of a dick, but like as the show goes on, you start realizing like, oh, there could be reasons as to why he's like this, like, you know, like his insecurities, the fact that he's panicked that like, why am I stuck in this game? Is there any other thing, or I don't know, like he has an eternal panic like with this whole existential crisis thing.
Now, have you ever considered, because for better or for worse, Nickelodeon and such studios actually go and they look at webtoons sometimes, like if you make a animation, like a pilot almost on YouTube. That is unfortunately how we got Breadwinners.
I mean, that's also at Gravity Falls, so
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You get, but yeah, see, that's, they aren't always just looking for people on the inside, although having connections and everything helps. If you put it out there and the right person sees it, that's really all it could take.
Yeah, it's again like I'm not a writer. I'm just like I just need someone to like help me find ways to like better structure my ideas so like it could not be so scattered or like unorganized, like which was actually one of the reasons why Adventure Time didn't get picked up by Nickelodeon.
Is because it was, I do remember hearing about that like, Nickelodeon had turned it down.
Yeah, but like the real reason was because like it was unorganized and difficult for like the executives to think of whether or not it'll be good for a show or not, because like the ideas were scattered and not organized well.
Let's see. Scott says, I made it, or damn, and I made a PowerPoint. I guess he's talking about what you kind of did there. We had all the files next to each other with the characters and such. Scott, I do the same thing. I actually have PowerPoint presentations booked for all the characters. I kind of keep them as visual Bibles of sorts. I was like, oh, these are the characters standing next to each other. These are locations. If I'm designing this, these are the notes I need to take. It needs to look like this, this, and this.
That's actually amazing. I'm not even half as prepared for that kind of thing as you guys are.
I guess I just think about like that. That's one of my character flaws. Is I think a little too much, and I can get lost in thoughts. But sometimes it just it actually comes in clutch. Like I feel like it's helped me a lot keep focus on like when I get stuck on a design where I keep drawing and I'm like, oh, that's not right, and I'll go and I'll think, I was like, okay, well, this character is based on the Predator. And so I look at the Predator and I look at what I like about it, and I write down characteristics. I'm like, okay, he's lean, very agile, has claws, can go invisible. And I take those pieces and I kind of work that into the design of this new character I'm making, where I take what I like about the Predator and try to put my own spin on it. Kind of like what Rare would do with a lot of their games. That was how they described themselves with Battletoads and Banjo-Kazooie and Killer Instinct. Was to take what somebody else did and kind of put your own twist on it, and take what you loved about it and put that up to 11. Even though I still think TMNT is better than Battletoads, but I do love the Battletoads a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of my approach to things, taking elements from what I like and putting my spin on them.
I think that's really how a lot of the world deals with things, because a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do that. It's just not original enough. And there's something I constantly tell myself and my friends who are interested in writing. There's no such thing as a 100% original idea, because everything that you've ever, like just about anything that you've ever read takes some of its inspiration and ideas from somewhere else, something that they loved or thought could be done better. Yeah, that actually helps me a lot when I'm feeling like, I mean, I do have ideas where I'm like, oh no, that's not really anything special. And I do think you should kind of keep yourself in check when you're writing and kind of think, how can I make this the best that it can be? But also when you're saying things like, oh, for a good example of this, when you overthink things and when you're thinking that's not good enough, is I remember for one of my stories, completely unrelated to any of this, my friend and I were because like, okay, we need like an evil scientist. And I was throwing everything out. I was thinking, okay, well, I've got to make him unique because I don't want him just to be like another, generic evil scientist. Then I started just making a ton of. I made like a frozen gorilla, and I made a bunch of ideas. And like my friend's like, you really don't need to go this far. I was like, yeah, but I want to be original. He's like, well, think about it like this. You've got some characters like Solid Snake. Like, he's just wearing this like military jumpsuit. It's
And
but
a rip off of Snake Plissken.
yeah, but you look at him and you're like, oh, he's iconic. He's beloved across the gaming industry. He's a fan favorite character. Being the main character, and you think about how much they did with like this like semi generic design with like just a military outfit. Like they did give it some like identifiable colors and stuff like that with the like light gray and the bandana.
Mhm.
But a lot of that just right there, it was kind of just putting their own spin and taking something that was so kind of mundane and making it interesting. That's just something I think about a lot. It's I feel like a lot of people need to hear it because a lot of people kind of shoot their ideas down before they even get the chance to start.
Yeah, and besides, like, what else is there?
There's-
It's like going with like the whole trilogy ordeal. Like, it's like some antagonists will be exclusive to like one season because like each season will represent each game. Like the first season, it'll probably be like oh, these two get hooked up by accident and get not hooked up, like tangled up into this adventure to stop like some narcissistic wizard from taking over the world. The second one is just like it's just like Bill and Arthanius trying to free this enslaved island from a tyrannical pirate, or like the third season, just like them traveling across the deserted waste, like a deadly wasteland to stop a mad scientist. And
I really like that because it also has all these kind of like you hear all these little throwbacks just in your pitch. Like you think about the villain changing every single time. And that kind of reminds you of, King K. Rool, where like he'd come back, but every single time he did, he was something drastically different.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that, but imagine that with separate villains. Like you've got a lot of fun material to cover there. I miss the '90s when it comes to games.
They're going to be in a obligatory go-kart episode.
There got to be a terrible movie tie-in episode.
There's no, but but the show has its own equivalent of Scratch and Grounder.
That's pretty great.
Scratch and Grounder. Thank you very much.
Except they develop as characters and change into good guys near the end of the show.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about was, you know that thing you shared, Carl, where it was like, bro, you just posted cringe. You want to lose a subscriber. That guy has my favorite Robotnik. I love that guy's Robotnik voice. It was perfect.
Yeah, but it's like with the whole ordeal, like as each season got a new villain, like these two henchmen would just like swap and assist the new villain. You know what I mean, right?
So
Yeah,
they're like freelance henchmen.
Yep, freelance stupid henchmen.
They have like a little union or something. But instead of like fair work, they want to act just like they managed to convince people that they need to get hired in the first place.
Yeah,
But they're hired to have them.
we're willing to get beaten up, but we're willing to let you beat us when you lose just to have a job.
Yeah, it's always. You ever see that episode of Sonic Boom where Orbot and Cubot go on strike? That was one of my favorite episodes because it was just so funny. And then as the episode goes on, he's like, I don't need you guys. I have these other robots. And when he starts abusing them, they start going on strike, and at the end of the episode, there's just this massive pile of robots holding picket signs outside of his base. Oh man, that show was taken from us too soon.
Damn. But it's like
Rest in-
there's some but it's like, yeah, there's some ideas I like to explain, like the whole ordeal of like characters dying and respawning, or like what's that whole? Okay, so like these characters meet someone who has the ability to teleport through games, and like you remember like this one rule in Wreck-It Ralph where like
If
you die outside.
outside the game, you're dead.
Yep.
So that's going to
There's
be
this-
the same here. Is like the stakes are going to get high when they leave their own game.
Yep. That's
Neat.
I'm actually really looking forward to this. You could start as a webcomic, like that's something you could do, and then
there are so many ideas Wreck-It Ralph introduced but ignored that it actually bothered me as a child.
it bothers me now. Mainly the biggest or anything it ignored, the second movie as a whole.
Yep.
Like it was so much missed potential.
Like example, what if like a character from another game were to kill you inside your game? Will you be unable to respawn, or how would it work?
How would it work? Like because in your own game, you've been killed by a foreign entity.
Yep.
Fun, but on the other hand, the real question is, would there be any like penalty for doing that for the other character?
They probably that's the question.
Like, are there
Is it-
video game character executions where the video game government like brings out the
Their save data gets deleted.
brings
Their
them
little
out
brother, their dog knocks the console.
angry video game character?
Oh, mate, you should have the game genie, but like a little Robin Williams tribute almost, and it's like a game.
Yeah.
Genie. It comes
Yeah.
in and hacks your game.
but yeah, but it's like there's no such. Yeah, that would be an interesting idea, but it's like yeah, like the main characters start strung around with their world until they realize, oh shit, what have we done? Game Genie, do we have one more wish left?
Yeah, and like like I said, no, he should live inside the game genie attachment like a genie. Like you blow it, you blow the dust out of it or something, and then he comes out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or better yet, how about just like the Game Shark Genie?
The game, yeah, the game shark. Yeah, it's a genie and a shark at the same time,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
actually
it'll be it'd be a lot better since like a Game Shark was more prominent during the 32-bit era of 3D gaming.
yeah, and then were they made by the same company or?
Different companies.
Yeah, I know. And then Action Replay showed up and then died in that time, and then since then.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's how you say, like it's tonally like it's like the 2012 Turtles cartoon. I don't know, like I even asked my friend, like, would it be a good idea if I had those guys as writers, because like the way they develop characters I feel is a
oh yeah, definitely. I think you could trust those guys as writers, no problem.
yeah, I think like they can help write the ideas I'm coming up with a lot better. Hell, I'm pretty sure like I have to write down the ideas I brought up here tomorrow because I have terrible memory.
And the crazy thing is, I think that they'd work in particular for this idea you're sort of developing, because your idea is both silly but also kind of there's this undercurrent of, oh, that's actually kind of messed up. And the team that worked on the 2012 Turtles and Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go were actually great at doing that kind of storytelling where it's extremely silly. There's definitely a lot of humor and it's very colorful, but there's like this recurring undercurrent of, oh wait, that's actually kind of messed up.
Oh,
That's
trust
that-
trust me,
Trust
there's like this one joke I was thinking of where like the characters, okay, so like So like there was this one thing like in the first season they don't know how to swim, but like by the second one they get the ability to swim and infinite oxygen. So you want to know how they test it out?
What do they do?
Boomer shoves Artanius's head underwater and just like and just like you know like when people just like shove someone's head underneath the water. They're just
Like,
like
wait, they just, it's like the moment with Sam and Max, they find out that you can't actually breathe on the moon.
yeah, just because like, are you able to breathe down there? And it's just like the other one's just screaming underwater.
He's just like, wait, yeah, actually, I'm fine. And then it's just, or it'd be kind of funny, you know how in some video games touching water is like an instant death, but in
Mhm.
you know, it's just water. Like you'd assume that like no one had ever learned how to swim.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Now the other thing is like, what if there was, you know, like how the Dreamcast had that weird like LED uh, attachment that was in the controller.
They
What if there was like kind of something like that? Like, is this directly the PS1 or is this like kind of a console of your own making?
I would try to pay Sony and Nintendo to allow me to feature the N64 in the PlayStation.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you can get away with like using the design and everything because you know Steven Universe, he had an N64 in his room.
No, but like I want them to refer to them by the actual names because Wreck-It Ralph did the whole same thing.
I'm amazed at how much Nintendo has changed with their policy on you know, using their IPs in movies and stuff.
Look,
Really quick, getting back to the chat. He says, "Is this like a Magic Treehouse situation?" I'm guessing what he means by that is, if you don't know, Magic Treehouse was a book series, and it
mhm,
might even still be going. But basically, like the Treehouse could take them anywhere, and like
mhm.
every single book would be some radically different period in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, would there be other games? Is it these three games specifically that the plot follows, or could they potentially go into other games?
They could potentially go into other games. Like I said, like someone from a Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis era game gets lost in their world, and well, she's trying her damnedest to survive in this three-dimensional world.
Can you just imagine being stuck like as a flat image in the air and just like awkwardly like trying to move forward, but you can't?
Oh no, she happens to go 3D, but how you say it's like okay, so like okay, so it takes place in the 3D era, but it's like the characters are 2D, but they're 3D backgrounds and objects.
All right, that's pretty cool.
Okay, but it's like, yeah, that's like the, and I believe by like around the third season, this was like the plan. Like, it'll be early GameCube and PS2 era.
Yeah, works for me definitely. That's you
And
know that was some of my first. That might have been one of my first game consoles was the PS2. My very first ever was the Game Boy Color,
hmm,
but after that it was the PS2, and then I got a GameCube like pretty much like before the Wii came out.
hmm.
Let's see.
But it's like, but it's like, hmm, there are other plans. Like, some one character who's like an NPC later on starts joining the two main characters on their adventures. Because she wants to help out. And how do you say it's like maybe a potential fourth season or something, assuming since like there's not gonna be strictly based on a game, but more like just like random stories we could tell.
Oh, kind of like what they did, what I was telling you with TMNT 2012, kind of
Yes.
their final
Yeah.
season.
Yeah,
Uh,
like I'm hoping to pitch again, like I'm hoping to pitch this show to Nickelodeon because like one of the ideas I'd love to throw out is like what if the characters like gets well what is it like they get trapped in turtles in time and they're trying to break out.
that'd be fun, especially since, well, okay, this actually is bothers me on a separate level. But they love to kind of nostalgia bait with those classic TMNT games. When the Turtles cameoed in Injustice 2, there was a small chance that they'd fall over on their butt and would blink in and out of existence and have little stars above their heads like you would in Turtles in Time. And
Yeah,
they
at
love
least
to make
with
little nods
this,
and references to it, but they don't, just like with the 2003 show, they don't want to re-release the game.
I say it's like at least it's subtle with the references, unlike with Mario and Sonic nowadays, where like they plaster nostalgia 24/7 in their game. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, not
there is
to.
or Pokemon is also pretty bad about it, but I mean I do love Pokemon. But one thing that does kind of irk me in I'm trying to what was it? In Ninja Turtles. It was something about you know what? Never mind. I forget what it was, but it was something about nostalgia bait.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, Reese, it's actually we're coming up on the 2 hour mark, aren't we?
We are indeed. We are indeed. Yeah.
What else
So, is there anything that we wanted to wrap up before we close the show down?
I hope to write all this information down tomorrow.
Information that just from the conversation, or
Yeah, like the stuff I brought up out of my mind, I just made up at the top of my head, so I don't
like
forget it.
Game Genie idea and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be I would love to see that. But yeah, there's actually a lot of
There's
fun. I love the one thing. I think I'm gonna actually go take a look into. Now I think going over to Reese. Is Joe Jobs available on online, or is it just in Patreon?
It is on Patreon, but it's the pages until the first issue is finished are just they're open for everybody. So they're not behind the paywall. So you can go ahead and go to patreon.com/ideal_comics and you can check it out there.
All right, yeah, I think because I love the idea of a supervillain who got the crap end of the stick, and he's working part-time jobs,
Yep.
and that's actually pretty. There's so much potential there for good humor.
what else is? Oh yeah, like there was this one idea I want to throw in because like I've never seen. Did anybody ever play Rayman Arena?
I knew it. I think I knew it kind of existed. I never actually played it.
Okay, so it's like like those kinds of racing games where like you're running on foot. Best case example, Sonic R.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say best case, but yeah.
Yeah, like there could be like a two-parters episode-ish thing where like the characters get like kidnapped by some obsessive teleporting millionaire who's just like forces the heroes and villains to race against their will. Otherwise, like he's gonna do some ungodly stuff to them.
He's gonna put them on. He's gonna send them onto the internet and put them on DeviantArt.
No, like the villain. If the heroes refuse, the villains will finally be able to accomplish their goals, and like the heroes will be, it, or if like the villains refuse, like they'll be. How you say it? Like they'll still get the shit out of the stick.
Yeah. Let's see. Um. So yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to this. How long have you been working on this story of yours, and does it have a name?
It's Boomer and Arthanius since 2012, I believe. Like, since I believe at the age of 5, I wanted to make like my first cartoon to be a Nickelodeon cartoon, but it's like I'm a little panicked to do that because of like how Viacom is nowadays.
Viacom running to your YouTube to take down anything and everything.
Oh no, though, like if anything, if it's not as popular as SpongeBob, it's automatically canceled.
Yeah, that is a problem of theirs. Cartoon Network and Adult Swim have the problem to the extreme where they have so many shows where they introduce them, they get one season, and then they only advertise that show for like a little bit, and it's just gone. It's down the memory hole.
Hmm. I don't know. Here's hoping like Amazon or something buys Viacom so like they could have the money to make more cartoons besides SpongeBob.
Yeah, I really hope so too. Anyway, it's actually on the East Coast. It's 11:27 right now.
11:28 here's
For everybody who's not other Matt, you know, it's actually pretty late. So I think we should wrap up the stream. What say you, Matt?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's call it a night. Well, everybody, thanks for sticking around. Those of you who did in the chat, I have to confess that I have just gotten, I was a little sidetracked myself. We just got our one of our Twitter accounts squared away. We've had for a while a Twitter account for the our fictional character Game Boy, and it's finally things squared away, so we can actually start posting from it. So if you guys are interested in following any of what Game Boy's got to say, feel free to check it out. There are links in the chat for all of that. I hope everybody had fun hanging out here. Matt, I'm excited to see where your project goes on that. That sounds real exciting.
Thank you so much.
Make sure you let everybody know as you progress and decide what kind of format you want to take yours into. Pretty good.
My goal is I'm sorry for interrupting you here, but my goal with it is I want to put something out by the end of this year. That's kind of my goal, or that's kind of my promise I made to myself. And
like on Tapas?
Yeah, it's going to be on Webtoon or Tapas. Probably Webtoon, but because it's not a romance story, I don't see Tapas picking up on it much. Well, but I could go either way.
Oh yeah, there is this one idea I forgot to mention. I want to get Grant Kirkhope and Robin Beanland as a composer for the show.
That'd be really fun. Good luck talking to I think it's Grant Kirkhope.
Grant Kirkhope talks a lot on Twitter, so I have a chance.
No, like Grant's accent is so thick that you can barely understand what he's saying. Like, look up some of the rare replay interviews for Banjo-Kazooie, and he needs subtitles. That's how thick his accent is.
Shut up.
No, like for real, check it out.
And what else? Before I forget, like if I ever get a game adaptation, I want the Ubisoft France. Okay, so like you're gonna be asking why Ubisoft. Okay, so like this one branch who made the Mario and Rabbids game, like I have a lot of trust in them for game adaptation.
That game was much better than it had any right to be.
I have faith in these guys. I have faith in them.
They did a wonderful job, and I think Kirkhope actually worked on that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, all right. I think that's an announcement there. Me and Carl, like the video game that was kind of like that we were talking about, that was more of a spitball. But if that does happen, you can find that somewhere. That probably will never happen. I don't know what say you, Carl? Do you think we could actually get that done?
What, a video game?
A video game adaptation. Like, do you think at some point we could actually, like, I don't care if it has like Atari graphics. I think that'd just be really cool to get a video game based on you or my stuff out there.
Yeah, I think a video game based off of our stuff would be kind of fun.
Yeah, I'd want to make a JRPG or a point and click game with what I've got.
David Soliani, if you and your team are listening to this, I want you guys to make my game adaptations, and I want them to be in good quality.
Yeah, I don't know how those big, or how these big names like these Nickelodeon shows and Cartoon Network shows, they always get like these terrible games that are rushed out.
Here's the reason. Here's the reason the executives are just old people who don't know what video games are.
All right, I think it's time to finally wrap up the stream.
Okay.
Real.
Everybody, thanks for coming, and we'll catch you all next week. So I will tell you right now, we do have at least one guest mapped out. That's Matt Johnson, who's the cartoonist behind Portland and Out at 5. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll be sharing some links as we lead up to that, and we'll see if we can't get somebody else on for second hour too. Anyway, we'll catch you all later.
See you.
Bye.
All right, bye
Bye.
everybody.